Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Coast to Coast Traders Podcast. I'm Flexing Joe.
And I'm Robbie.
What's up, Robbie? How's your weekend been?
Been good. I just taking care of some business earlier, changing the oil,
Yeah?
my wife's car, and long overdue task. Finally stopped procrastinating.
Yeah, there you go.
But we're back in business.
Nice. Nice. Did you put the oil cap on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Just let me
Everything it should be as it is.
Okay. All right. All
As
right.
it should be.
Hey, you never know, bro. It's like that's what always sketches me out. It doesn't matter where I take any of my vehicles. If I take them somewhere to get oil changed or whatever, I'm always just like, did they actually put the plug back in? Like, am I gonna go like a mile down the road and run out of oil? Like, what's
Oh, that'd
happening
be
here?
so awful, man.
Mm.
That'd be the worst.
Yeah, my brother went to Jiffy Lube and I think he did like a transmission flush, and he ended up having to take him to small claims court, and he actually won because
Oh wow.
they didn't actually. I guess he somehow was able to figure out that they didn't actually put in any transmission fluid. They drained the old stuff, and then they didn't put any in, or they didn't put enough in. I don't remember the exact details of it, but whatever. I mean, he took him to small claims court and he won. So they paid. So he ended up getting a brand new transmission.
Nice. Good for him.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a headache, but it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get a new government soon? Because there's some wild stuff going on.
Dude, I know, man. I felt like it was the weirdest thing because that last Trump Elon like Oval Office event, I listened to it as it was happening. And it was like everything was hunky dory, and then all of a sudden Elon's like, "Yo, Trump's on the Epstein list, bro." Like it was just like they were just like really going at each other.
Yeah, it's crazy, and like supposedly Trump is saying that it was all set off by him eliminating the EV mandates that are going to be going into effect, or were going to be going into effect in so many years, but supposedly Elon should have known that from the get-go.
Yeah,
so,
and the EV credits too ending. The EV credits are ending after this year. Yep.
So there's a temper tantrum being had for sure, and the market is not responding well to that. At the very least, with regards to Tesla stock.
Oh, dude, I couldn't believe
we had like a 16% dump on, was that Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
I think it was Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Man.
Crazy.
I couldn't believe it. Like when I should probably pull up the chart. So I just couldn't believe it fell like the way it did.
Yeah.
Where are we? Podcast with chart. Boom. Yeah, dude. This daily chart's crazy. It's really crazy to think about. Like, look at this run up from where's the election? Here's the election. And like, the day of the election, we closed, went up $237 to the peak here. And then now from like the election close, what are we at here? What do we close at? We're only up $43. Like,
it's crazy.
That's wild, man. It's had some wild moves, but it was looking good. Like it had this sort of like, kind of flag. And I was worried that like the flag was ascending and not descending. So it wasn't looking like a pullback. But then like also I was like kind of looking at like this too, in a way that, hey, we're kind of flagging downward, like maybe in here, but it didn't matter. Like either way, it just, when it started to flush, it started to flush. So
yeah, it was so wild.
Dude, it really was.
I don't know what's gonna take for the, like, because obviously we had a nice relief bounce on Friday, but I don't think that it's over yet. What about you?
I don't know, man. I don't know. This was just really, I'm just looking back at this chart, like this, it was already, it's weird that it already made like such a big downward move. And then there was the Trump news, like with Elon, like it was already, it was already like kind of falling off and had broken under this pivot. And then like it closed under here, like it closed under this daily low. So on Monday, and it was like, man, this is just looking already weak. It sold off overnight. And then it just like really started to sell off. So it's like, kind of almost makes me wonder who knew, Like,
Or maybe they just got lucky. Like this was the trajectory that they wanted, and then they're like, "Oh, thank you, Trump. Please,
yeah,
thank you for
yeah,
having this feud because some pockets got lined big time."
mm-hmm, yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is a big area to hold. Oops,
Yeah, for sure.
right in here.
Hmm.
This is 275s.
Yeah, and conveniently, it's back over that really massive green candle from the 425, April 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will. It's gonna be I'm sure a colorful next few weeks. But it did gap. That's the thing too, is it gapped down on the weekly, then it lost
Hmm.
Monday's low, and then it really flushed. And so, it was looking weak just from it was looking weak at the start of the week, dude. But
Yeah. Hmm.
what was not looking weak? Look at Elf, bro. Look at this Elf chart. This thing just
Yeah,
keeps
isn't
going.
it interesting that we gapped up like
Mm,
so high, and then so we have two red candles back to back, but like I don't know that if you like when you get a red candle, like you don't expect it to gap up the next day, right?
right, right. I mean,
So it's very curious.
yeah. And yes, is it gapped up just a little bit. It came down, it retested the prior day's lows. Zoom
Hmm.
in for everybody to see it a little better. And then it's just continuing to push, right? This is
Yeah.
crazy. This is crazy, dude. If you had bought makeup instead of Tesla, you would be up fat.
Indeed. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Do you think
Well,
that's going to continue on though, the Elon Trump drama?
uh, yeah, I think I don't, given how strong both of their personalities are,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's not gonna end like quickly. Like it's gonna take some time to settle up, and then for somebody to forgive somebody else, or maybe they'll just go on their separate ways. I mean, it kind of just seemed like Elon wasn't really interested in. Well, he was interested in Doge, but like
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't happy with the progress that was being made,
Yeah.
and specifically the what he was calling the pork in the big beautiful bill.
Yeah. 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 I think there's a couple of my friends that messaged me, and they think that it's all like a big game. They think it's like because Elon deleted that Epstein tweet, and then
Mm,
Democrats were like calling for stuff that they haven't spoken about at all. So now he's kind of like, are they just playing? Are they just playing the other side and like baiting them in? And
yeah, I see people saying, "Oh, it's a psyop, this and that,"
uh
and then
huh,
sometimes I'm seeing posts that like, "Hey, chill out, guys. It was just a joke." And I sometimes like I don't know what's real
yeah,
on some of these things.
yeah,
So I'm not like fully following it because like you said, some things have been deleted, and then obviously some stuff could just be made up.
right.
But it's funny seeing some of those fake ones.
Yeah, it is. Like the one that fake one that somebody made, and it said that like little X didn't give Elon the black eye, I did. It was from Trump, and he's like he was acting out, and I had to slap him back into shape or something stupid. I was like,
Hmm.
I was like, these guys are ridiculous. The internet like has totally won though. I watched this AI generated video where Elon was on Mars, and then like Trump was still on Earth, and they like
Hmm.
were both like very like like just like very sullen, very somber and sad, that they were gone. And like Elon's like looking at like a picture of the Earth. Trump's like looking up into the sky, and they're like blah 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 blah. It was ridiculous. I was like, what? How do people are making this with AI already? Like it's funny as hell.
It came at a good time because I forget if it's VO2 or who does that, but whichever AI that's really hot right now with the video.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just recently dropped within like the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some really funny ones, man. I've seen like a daily vlog of a Yeti and like Bigfoot and stuff. It's so good, dude. It's
Yeah,
really good. Yeah, like it's so you would think that a Hollywood studio, was making these types of like these little videos, and it's so realistic. The animation is so good. The audio quality is fantastic, and the voice lines are hilarious.
dude, this is that's scary, bro. Like, I mean,
I know.
we've made a lot of movies about how this is a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. What a time to be alive, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see a company called Skynet or something, dude. That's it. We better run. We better just
Yeah,
that's it.
or get shares,
Yeah,
and then get rich before our demise.
that's it. Yeah, get rich and go off, hide in the mountains or whatever somewhere. It'll be Coast to Coast Traders podcast from the bunker.
Oh
Nobody will be
yeah,
able.
for sure.
Nobody will be able to find us.
All right, what do you say we get on a little more serious topic here, huh?
Okay. All right. What do you want to
Want
talk
to talk
about?
about some casino stuff, maybe?
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk about the meaning of life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 So very. All right. So I came across something that like it was really intriguing, and I started to just like do some research on it. Right. So it came up as like a random topic of conversation that white charts with essentially only black and white candles, reduces the casino effect. And
Okay.
and shout out Precog if you're listening to it. That's the guy's moniker, if you will. That I think that's what you would call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's his in the group, and he was the first one to start talking about it. And then other people were chiming in that yeah, they've heard this before too. Now, dude, how do you feel about white background charts, anyways?
I've tried them, but it's too bright.
It's too
But I think
much.
with black and white candles, it might work. But with indicators and stuff, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I've tried it before, and it like, kind of looks cool for the screenshot, like, but then like, yeah, it's just too much. And then especially since I'm up in the morning, at like anywhere between 5 and 6 a.m. The darker charts are better in my eyes.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. For sure. For sure. So I don't know if you noticed this or not. Um. But I have like, because I have. Hold on, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this squared away for you. All right, because here's ES. All right, so look at this. Okay, so dude, do you see?
mhm.
I made this button right here that says my eyes.
Yeah. All
So
right.
here we
I'm
go.
prepared.
Prepare yourself. Put your sunglasses on, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. Oh God,
Yeah.
dude, it's even if you look at my camera real quick. This one.
hmm Oh
This one.
yeah. That's what it's like for me, like in the morning, because like my screen's everything's dark mode. My Windows desktop's dark mode, all that
Hmm.
stuff. Like even like websites that I go to, if they have a dark mode, I enable that.
Yeah.
But Forex Factory isn't. So when I'm checking the news in the morning, just
Oh
to double
yeah.
check what's on the docket today, that's like the big bright thing. And so like my webcam will totally like brighten up my face before I get back to the charts. So it's like the only time you can like fully see me illuminated in the mornings when I'm trading.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, dude, it's bright. It is bright. It is very,
hmm
very bright. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna like get a suntan if I sit here all day at these charts. But the interesting thing too is that concept of it reducing the kind of the casino effect, and that you're able to just like process the data. And so maybe I should like I'll leave it with the indicators on, but like
hmm
is this not quite white in the after hours, like because I have the shading on, and I was like playing with this. It's really interesting too that like looking at the OBS screen right now, it looks like this is more gray.
Oh, okay.
And how does it? What kind of color does this look like for you? Because it kind of looks like a light tan.
It looks great to me.
It's so weird. Hold up,
Yeah.
dude. I'm gonna snap this picture real quick so you. So.
But like for instance, your labels, the CBC and the on the top left,
Mm-hmm.
those are extremely vibrant, and like usually my indicators are of a bright nature.
Yep.
So when I have tried to switch to a white background, like because I have different EMA clouds and stuff, it's a lot.
Yeah. It took.
Yeah, I just can't handle it really.
Yeah, it took me a lot of like different tries, like trying to just figure out like different color schemes on the indicators and changing them off of what they're normally at. And then like for the CBC flip indicator, I had to make the bullish arrows gray because if I made them white, you wouldn't be able to see them all day.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because they blend in with the white chart, right? So I tried like different
Yeah.
color variations, dude. I was playing with this for probably an hour and a half. My wife
hmm
literally said to me, "I wish I was a chart," and then you'd stare at me that all this time, like joking around because
Oh, snap.
I was like, okay, I'm done. But I was just like, man, like I'm just trying to work out these colors. She's just
hmm
How many times are you gonna change it?
Yeah.
But
Well, are you gonna keep it? Are you gonna like give it a go for a week or what?
dude, it's tough. I set up my Ninja Trader charts too, like with a white. I'm
Hmm.
tempted to give it. I am tempted to give it a go because like lately I have found that I've really been dealing with like some weird impulsivity, and then like I've also been like getting like very like zoomed in on like what we're doing and
Yeah.
like hyper fixating in a bad way. And
Okay.
so I was thinking that like, hey, you know what? Like let me actually at least give this a try. Like to see if it helps me be a little bit more objective. But the other thing I thought of was just like, what about doing like black chart, like a black chart with just white candles?
Yeah.
You know, like solid white for the up candle, hollow white for the down candle. It'd be like the kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Like I mean I get the psychology in some regards, but
Yeah,
like it is just still psychology and you still have to assign a good and bad or a high and low to whichever color that you're going to pick regardless.
true. I think like in reading about the casino effect, and of course I was doing a lot of research for a while. It's supposed to basically what they're saying is, or kind of the feedback online is black and white stock market charts reduce the casino effect by minimizing emotional and psychological distractions that can
Hmm.
influence your trading decisions. So basically,
Yeah.
the casino effect, refers to a tendency, you know, of like the bright lights, kind of the flashing lights, that whole loud environment you get in a casino, as a way to trigger you to be more impulsive and like not, this is like so bright, but like, and I guess like not as much in tune with your logic, and so
Potentially you're less averse to chase maybe if you
mhm.
see the black and white versus the red and green.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Kind of like the opposite of like what the casinos are really going for, because like
Hmm.
a casino is a very well studied, specific environment, right? Like, where have you ever heard of like casinos that will like pump in fresh oxygen, which try to keep you there?
No,
Yeah, so like can't remember where I read it, but like casinos will
it sounds
like pump in.
delightful.
Yeah, they pump in all that oxygen, and like I think, of course, it's because people are like smoking in there, and they're probably like really trying to filter out the air like very quickly. And I've been in casinos
Yeah.
where people are smoking, and you really can't smell anything. But
Hmm.
also that like high oxygen environment is going to hinder you from actually getting tired, and then in theory you stay longer, right? But
Oh,
like
okay.
if you think about everything else that goes into being a casino, right? Like just that whole environment, it's all just a bunch of emotional triggers. And like, what do people call the stock market? They call it like, like, oh, the casino's open, it's 9:30.
Yeah. Hmm.
So like some notes that I had on it, right, is like, here's how black and white charts will help. They eliminate emotional triggers from colorful charts, especially with red and green indicators or candles, which can evoke strong emotional responses. Red, even if you're playing the downside, right, can trigger an emotional response to fear, right? Fear of losses, etc. And then
Hmm.
like green, for greed, right? Because I mean that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're just making gains. And like I kind of like paused and really thought about that, right? Like even if you are a downside trader, you're long somewhere, right? Like, I mean, unless like I guess this probably doesn't apply to like everybody, almost everybody, except for like a very small population. But you're long in the market, right? Like if the market is going down, even if you're trading the downside, you're long on your 401k or your Roth or your long term portfolio. You're long somewhere, right? So like
Yeah.
there's
That's an interesting to think about because like you just can't be a permanent short person in the market. It's against the it's against the nature of how the market's designed.
exactly like the market
Hmm.
is designed to just go up, right? So the interesting thought there on like the red triggering fear or whatever, and then it's supposed to just help with stripping away color cues, presenting the data in a neutral, less emotionally charged way. So
Hmm.
you should be able to then focus more on the data that you're being presented versus the stimuli of like green bar just exploding upward or a red bar just like falling off a cliff.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I don't know. I felt like maybe it's worth a shot.
Hey, I mean, what do you got to lose?
I mean,
Nothing really.
well,
Just about an hour or two of time of tweaking the charts. That's it.
yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be like if I take a losing trade, like if my first trade out of the gate is a losing trade, I'm not gonna be like, damn it, I knew it's these white
Just
charts,
these charts.
these damn white charts.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and then what else? Simplify visual information. They reduce clutter, removing gradients, highlights, and under other design elements that can make charts feel like a game. The simplicity helps traders concentrate on key metrics like price movements, trends, patterns without being distracted by aesthetic flourishes.
Hmm.
Promoting analytical thinking by presenting the data in a stark monochromatic format. Okay, so this part right here, have you ever used? Because you're an Android guy, right?
Yeah.
So I know iPhones have this. Do you have like a what's it called on my phone here? Do you have like a color setting? It's called color filters.
I'm not sure, but I do use custom like icons and stuff. But probably more specifically to your point, I was a Windows Phone user.
Okay.
If you ever heard of that, so I just
Yeah.
sent you an image really quick.
Yeah, I remember Windows
This this
phones.
this was basically like if you ever used Windows 10 and Windows 8, the start menu was basically derived from the style of the Windows Phone
Yeah.
with
Wait,
those tiles and stuff.
yeah. Did you like
And
it?
it was only one. I loved it. It was only one color.
Yeah.
You can change. You could choose the color, but everything was. The icons were white, and then the color was your tile. And they had this advertising campaign back in the day called "Smoked by a Windows Phone,"
Mm-hmm.
and they would pit up uh, Android and iPhone users against a Windows Phone, and it was just a man on the street kind of situation. It was like, all right, post to Facebook, post to X, and then post to this, the same thing, and then let's see who finishes first.
Uh-huh.
And on Windows Phone, they had a hub thing that was all integrated. So you made one post, and it simultaneously post to all three platforms. Whereas on Android and iPhone, you had to do it, each time per app.
Yeah.
And I think that the app people, Facebook and everybody, they wanted more control. They wanted you to be in their app so they can collect the data, so they can get the ads and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They probably didn't like that, so that ad campaign got squashed, and Windows Phone, saw its demise many many years ago.
Dang. I remember one of my coworkers having this Windows phone, and I remember it's like just this is like a flashback because now I remember being like, what's Cortana? You know,
Oh
because
yeah, right. That was the AI version. It was decent.
yeah, I had no concept of it, but that's interesting. That's interesting. So
Hmm.
yeah, but it's all basically the same color. So like on my iPhone, one of the things I figured out a long time ago, right, is that like, and this probably applies to trading too. So I'm thinking that it's probably a good idea for me trying the monochromatic charts, whether I do like black with white or white with black or whatever. But
Hmm.
um, basically, I figured out a long time ago that like if I actually put my phone into like a black and white sort of scale, it's
Hmm.
far less distracting. And I there is no desire to scroll because you're kind of looking at it like, okay, well, what is this even really? And then it just like it's completely gone, and you can adjust it too, which is cool. Like I'll send you a couple of screenshots like after. But basically, you
Yeah.
can, and maybe I should just for everybody's probably gonna like wonder, so I'll just put one in the chat, but so people can see. But basically, like you can adjust it so like the colors are lighter or darker or whatever, you know,
Hmm.
which makes it kind of helpful. But I don't
Ever
know.
use ever use a Kindle or a Kobo e-reader?
No,
There's a company called Books, Boox, and they have a phone called the Palma, and it's an e-ink screen. I just shared the link with you.
dude,
And if you want zero distraction monochrome, that's the phone for you.
this is crazy.
Yeah. I'm sure it gets phenomenal battery life because like I use my Kobo e-reader every day practically. And well, when it was new anyway, I probably didn't have to charge it for maybe about a week at a time or more.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, dude, I just did.
Hmm.
So I took a screenshot. It came out in full color. It's not color on my phone. Like my actual phone.
Oh yeah, because that's probably just the app or whatever. That's just yeah, it's just a display thing, like API thing. But that makes sense that the screenshot is full color.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
I wonder how I'll have to play around with this more. That's really funny. But it's like I have like the way I have it set up is like the red and green are almost like barely visible. Like that looks like
Hmm.
so bright and vibrant looking at it. And then,
Yeah.
now it's like I look down at my phone and it's just like a really pale color. So I
Hmm.
guess apparently that's supposed to be like something to help, right? And I just figured that out a long time ago that if I turn that off, like I don't pick up my phone and then look for a distraction, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Um,
because like it's less exciting to look at. So sure.
exactly, and so that's like the last point was like reducing the overstimulation, right? Because like casinos, like we talked about, have like dynamic visuals, bright lights, etc. Try to keep people engaged and keep trying to
Hmm.
trigger that impulsivity of like I got to get in if I'm gonna win. I got to place a bet if I'm gonna win money, etc. etc. And it's like
Yeah.
and so basically it was kind of saying that like vibrant stock charts can sometimes overstimulate people, encouraging rapid, poorly thought out trades. And I was just thinking, oh shit, if that ain't me lately, I don't know what is. So I don't know, dude. I think I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna try out making a black background one with like only white candles and see how that goes.
Hmm.
But I think so. I think that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm really just trying to keep the colors toned down on the EMA so like I know where they are, but it's not like a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes for you.
Yeah, at least have something to report back next week.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you want to talk about the real estate?
I do. So a few weeks ago, we touched lightly on the real estate market,
Yeah.
and we had intended to follow up, but other topics kind of like uh, kind of felt more important at the time. But now that this is sneaking up again,
Mm.
I feel like my news feed, and it could be a combination of just me having researched this that it's recommending more.
Yep.
But initially, I wasn't looking into the housing market. Like I just saw a post on X. And recently, what I saw was someone posting that a Florida investor bought for 550K in 2022,
Yep.
and they just sold it for 391. So a 28% loss in 3 years. Market turning down fast. And so I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, let's take a look. Let's go look at some Florida real estate. And I searched around. I was on Zillow, and I'm like, can I find anything that matches what this guy is saying? Like, is this an anomaly? Or is this a potential early sign?
Yep.
And so I looked around, and I mean, Florida is a huge state, but this city in particular, St. Petersburg, Florida, got a lot of listings,
St. Pete.
and I found several listings that didn't quite match that data. It was about the prices were on par with 2022, 2023. It was similar or maybe slightly higher, but it didn't take long for me to find a couple of listings that did have similar uh, cuts in price. So anywhere from 20 to 30%. And if you're a housing buyer, that's great for you because if houses come down 30%, I mean that's a great buy opportunity.
Right.
And I went to check my market. You and I talked about that in private somewhat recently,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I checked my backyard, and I didn't find anything that matched that at all. In fact, prices are still a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
But this could be a couple of things. I mean, this could just be the train is so big that it takes a long time to slow down. But
Yep.
if we're looking at housing data, we got inventories are up for sure.
Yep.
Time and markets, uh, like I don't really know what the difference is in time and market, like what's considered good and bad. Like when I was looking at the days on the market, like I don't know what would be considered a big shift. Like is 1 or 2 days really a big change in the grand scheme?
Mm-mm.
But what is possibly a leading indicator is home builder stocks.
Okay.
Because like if you're an individual seller, um, you don't want to believe that what you're selling has depreciated in value. Just like in the stock market, sometimes it's hard for us to cut that losing trade, and we have hope that it's going to go back up, or we just don't, we don't believe that it's that's coming down like it has. But when you're a home builder and you have 50, you have money tied up in a 50 housing tract development or whatever it is.
Yep.
You know what's selling and what's not selling and how fast your turnover rate is or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, like I'm looking at KBH, KB Homes, for instance, in September, they were at their high for almost $90. And here we are in June, they're down to 51.60, 62.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Here, let me throw some of those up here for everybody to see. This is a weekly chart. Man, they consolidated there at the highs, whatever. And then when it flushed, it's flushed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, look at these like obvious areas of support just fail.
Yeah.
And look, this is like a weekly. This is like his weekly Hing. Like, dude, this could potentially and theoretically will probably fall even lower to this area here, or it's a little big, but yeah, the bottom of that box
Yeah.
potentially.
And so, like, we have high inventories and we have interest rate. It's pretty high. I mean,
Yep.
it's not historically high,
Yep.
but it's about what it was before the last crash in 2005 and 2008.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I bought my house, my interest rate I think was like 6.1 or something. It was 6 point something, and only after when I refied for 15 years did I get it down to 3 point something.
Yeah.
So mortgage rates are high. We don't know when the cut's going to happen,
Yep.
but it's still going to take time to trickle down. And while prices are high, or interest rates are high and prices are coming down, it is looking awfully similar to what it was. And then, we talked about what the average income required is in various states to be able to afford a house based on the debt to income ratio.
Yep.
But another report I saw is saying that households earning 75,000 can only afford about 20% of the listings nationwide.
Households at 75,000.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I wonder. Okay, that word listings too is like I'm curious about that word because if it's if it's a mobile home, right? Like, does that count as a listing, right? Because
I would think so.
yeah, but like there's a difference in not only like you know what I mean, like between a mobile
Oh,
home and a
sure.
house. Like there's a big difference, and so I think like if you like I would imagine that if you cut the mobile homes off of that percentage has got to drop big time because
Oh, yeah,
it's so
right.
much
Yeah,
cheaper,
because not everybody's going to be in the market for a mobile home,
right?
so or a manufactured house.
Yeah,
But yeah, that could definitely bump that number, the percentage down quite a bit as far as people wanting to afford a traditional house.
yeah, and dude, I gotta say too, mobile homes are like the weirdest thing. Like I know they get the bad rap, and they, I guess because they depreciate, like because they're not made as well as like a stick built home or like a prefab, like a modular home. But like,
Hmm.
bro, I've been in like some nice looking trailers, dude. Some nice mobile homes with like they got stone
Yeah,
countertops and a fireplace, and you know they're not all bad.
yeah, they have all the same They can have all the same bells and whistles for sure.
Yeah.
Just not quite the same prestige that people apply to. But yeah, like, man, but I guess that's another sticking point too. Is when I was kind of going down this rabbit hole. Um, some people don't understand the difference between a mobile home versus a manufactured home.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, I would just say, I think the main reason that I wanted to bring it up again was because I don't remember if I really made the point that I wanted to when we last talked about real estate, which initially was talking about how the compounding interest of just investing versus buying potentially yielded you greater net worth in the long run. But I don't know if I really hammered in, or if we hammered in specifically that the compounding interest is what we're aiming for long term.
Right. That's true. Yep. That's true.
Yeah, and so I would just urge people, if you're interested in getting in the market, pay attention to the signals and don't over leverage yourself to buy a house.
Right.
Always, whatever you're buying, just make sure that if you lock in that price today, but suddenly you lose your job, are you good for 6 months?
Oh,
Like, make sure that your affairs are in order financially before you before you sign that commitment. But I was actually wanting to maybe send people down a rabbit hole. You remember when we talked about Fantastic? I don't remember if it was you that turned me onto her, or if I turned you onto her. But she's the infinite lending person.
Bro, yeah, I
Might have
do.
been you that
I think
I
I
mentioned it.
sent you the video first. I think, but yes, I
I
do.
think,
I know what we're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I've been going down that rabbit hole. I'm so close to paying off my house. It doesn't work out make sense for me, especially with my interest rate being very low.
right.
But I would encourage people to maybe take a look at that and see about finding a way, if that makes sense to you. You know, talk to a financial advisor or something, and see if you can start paying down any debt you have in these creative ways. And in fact, dude, I saw somebody starting a YouTube channel where he's putting his whole paycheck into his brokerage account, and then he's paying all of his stuff on margin. So he's investing his paycheck, but then he's using margin, borrowing against his account to pay for his bills. Isn't that wild and like crazy risky?
Yeah, but how would you do that though? Because I feel like how
Well,
do
you're
you,
only going to get margin called when your balance, when your value changes, right?
if the stock market
So
goes
if
down
you're
bad?
well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what his positions are,
Yeah.
but let's just say that he's not being wildly aggressive, and he's trying to just make conservative stock picks and whatever. And he's not necessarily trading; he's just investing.
Okay.
The thing with the home equity lines of credits and the margin is how the interest is calculated.
Right.
And on a homeowner on a mortgage, we're front loading the interest payments.
Oh yeah.
But with the HELOCs and this stuff, like interest is calculated differently, and it's revolving. So like if he's regularly depositing money into that account, yes, he borrowed, let's say, $1,000 the first month, and he spent that on stocks, but then he's replenishing what he borrowed the next month with his paycheck, or every 2 weeks, or what, whatever his interval is. So I would just say it's an interesting rabbit hole to get down. And for me personally, I'm all about like not owing anybody anything, not having credit card debt, or at the very least, paying everything off monthly and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I had a story. I don't know if we talked about this way back in the day, but or at a previous episode, I may have told you about it personally. But when I was in my young 20s, I woke up to the realization that I had, you know, tens of $1,000s of credit card debt, and like literally nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I'm like, I got to do something about this. And so what I did was I was getting 0% interest balance transfers,
Yeah.
and I rolled it over, baby. and I so aside from like the transfer fee
Yeah.
from the initial,
Like 2 to
I
3%.
didn't I didn't pay a drop of interest, because I would get the 0%, then I'd pay the transfer fee of the 2 to 3%,
Yep.
and then I'd make those payments, and then I'd roll over the next one until I had zero.
And you saved a ton on interest.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
And you got paid,
Because
which means you paid it all off even faster too.
yeah, I paid it down, and so that's my goal, for everything going forward, is like pay the house down, go hard on the investment in the future, save up for another property, and for sure I'm going to be looking to this infinite banking situation when that time comes for me to buy another house.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I mean, it's the infinite banking concept is like very I guess more well known with whole life insurance, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and dude, every time I've looked into that, I'm like, yo, I can't get into this. Like it feels like a scam because the monthly payments are super high.
Oh, right.
Like they're freaking like, for most people it's like $700, $800, $1,000 like a month, depending on like how much you want. And like I need to dig deeper in it, because like it's a pretty cool concept, and we should probably like maybe plan on next
I'm
week.
glad you mentioned that too, because yeah, that was a big aspect of it too, is the whole life insurance versus just the HELOC. Like, there's a lot of creative ways to borrow money
Right.
and be your own bank. So yeah, maybe we talk about that further, but like people can just look this up. Her name is Fantastic, but there's a lot of other YouTubers out there. Maybe some that articulate it a little bit better than her.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out. It's an interesting thing to look up.
I think she doesn't. I think she doesn't call it infinite banking. Doesn't she call it like velocity banking or speed, something like that?
Oh yeah, velocity
It's
banking.
velocity. I knew it
That's
was.
what,
I was thinking
yeah.
all
Just
that like
look up the terms. Infinite banking. Be your own bank. Velocity. Yeah, just look up all those terms. You're gonna go down a rabbit hole, spend hours, and not financial advice, but take a look at it.
yeah. Yeah, dude. It's like this just makes me think though, because I think when we came across this, I told you I had like a super funny encounter with my bank. I've been with my bank, or I've had my credit card with my bank since
Hmm.
I was 18, right? So like you know more than half my life now, which is
Yeah.
crazy. I've had the same credit card, and the interest rate on it is like I feel like for a credit card is pretty low. Like I think now because of like the rates jumping, it's at like 9.1. But for a while it
Hmm.
was at like 7, right? Which I felt like
Yeah.
was pretty good for a credit card. And I don't ever usually have a balance. I try to pay it off right away and just collect the points, right? And I'm just really they're
Hmm.
paying me at that point, so
Yeah.
but anyways, I called them and I asked about a HELOC, right? And they were like, yeah, here's the information, blah, 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 blah. Here's how you would apply. We'll email you the application, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, like the number one question I have before we do any of that
Hmm.
is like, what's the interest rate? And the chick was like, dude, it was like 11.7. I was like, why would I get a HELOC when my credit card's cheaper than this? And
Right.
she was just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, sir. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, and
Click.
look into the fees too, because sometimes there's fees, for spending. There's like withdrawal fees and stuff too. So the interest isn't the only aspect that we need to look at when we're checking out those things. So
Right.
read the fine print.
Yep. Read the fine
Hmm.
print. Yeah. Very
But
interesting.
dude, get this. I
Yeah.
had a friend who was in a financial situation, and he withdrew from his 401k.
Okay.
He didn't know that you could borrow against it,
Oh, dude. Damn.
so he got taxed and he got bumped up. And
Oh.
he's called me that he got bumped up in tax basis,
Oh, yeah. Of course you did.
and he had to pay a pretty big chunk in taxes. And he's like, "Yeah, I got to figure out how to pay off this IRS bill." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, you could have borrowed against that, and that would have been tax free."
Right. Yeah. The only problem I think with borrowing against it is that they basically sell your position, right? So
I'm not sure.
they do. They sell your position, and
Okay.
so you lose that time and potentially those gains
Mm,
in the market. However, especially if the market's been like range bound for a period of years, which it really hasn't.
hmm.
It's just continued. Even though it pulls back, it's just gone up and pulled back and gone up and up and up, right? But
Yeah.
in some big gaining years. But like the interest rate, say it's like 8 or 9%. Like the average rate of return that most people calculate for long term positions, like on the SPY, for example, is only like 7 to 8%. So like if
Yeah.
you knew you were going to get a guaranteed 9% return, and your last few
Hmm.
years were maybe they were just low, like 6, or even if they were 9, it was like, okay, well, I
Yeah.
took my chances and I got 9, or I could for sure get a solid 9 right here.
Yeah.
But if the market makes a sudden and rapid up move, depending on the terms of your loan, you are slowly buying back into that position, and you're gonna have a massive average up. So
Yeah. For sure.
there's
Yeah.
some plus and down minuses.
But I mean, at least he wouldn't have been penalized tax wise.
Oh yeah. Well, did he have
So
any
he picked your
taxes
poison.
withheld?
Oh yeah, he withhold taxes for sure,
And it just wasn't enough.
but it wasn't enough. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah. I don't think he's had to pay in a long time.
Oh damn, dude.
Yeah, so this is like a pretty big shock for him.
Yeah. And then honestly, like, is he in a bad position where it's like he's almost gonna have to take another withdrawal just to pay for the first one?
Um, I told him that he should look into a personal line of credit or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can, especially if you just take the loan out. Like if you can take the loan out, then
Right,
with
and
four.
that's what he should have done in the first place.
Mm,
Because the interest paid on the loan, like probably would have been much less than what he lost in compounding interest, because this was a couple of years ago that he did that. So he definitely missed out on a lot of gains.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah. Hmm.
Damn, dude. Damn. I
Yeah. I didn't ask him what the chunk was. He didn't tell me. It doesn't matter. But like, just anybody out there listening, not financial advice, talk to an advisor. But like, if you're ever in a situation like that, like, ask somebody about what your options are.
yeah.
Ask questions. Don't just say, "Hey, I need the money. I'm just going to take it out of the 401k." Like, ask somebody, like, what's the best? Like, what are my options? At least find options.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hmm.
Kind of gets me thinking, dude, about the whole velocity banking concept and just using your 401k.
Yeah. Right. But
Yeah.
like, if you said though, like, if they liquidate your position, then that's not going to work. But like, we know that these elite billionaires, they don't do that when they borrow against their shares, and that's a tax loophole in itself. It's like some of these guys don't get a paycheck, or they say they don't anyway. But really, what they do is they just go to the bank and say, "Hey, look, I got a couple $1 billion in these shares. I'll use that as collateral for my
Yeah.
loan."
Yeah. Isn't that kind of what Elon did with buying X or Twitter? Well,
Probably, yeah. I don't know, but probably.
yeah. This is a great time to remind everybody that this is not financial advice. We're just talking speculatively, and neither of us are doing these things. It's not like we're telling you to do that. We're just it's
Yeah.
interesting concepts. I think for sure next week we got to spend some more time like really trying to break down this velocity banking thing,
Hmm.
and then I'm curious to look into it in terms of like, could you just use your 401k, as a way to do that or whatever, or take a loan like against yourself. But that's
Yeah.
gonna be really important to find out that fact of like, so if I take the loan, do you liquidate my position, or is my position static? Like basically, is my cost basis going to change when I
My
as I'm
assumption is that if you take a loan from like a bank or something, then no, it's just that's the loan, and then collateral is in the account.
right?
But if you're doing it through the trading institution, then that's a whole different thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I am like 95% sure they liquidate your position, just kind of randomly going down this road a couple years ago with people at work, because it
Hmm.
started like a concept, the talk of a concept, because came up during COVID. There were actually a few people that I work
Mm.
with that during COVID they liquidated their 401ks because there was no penalties, and,
Oh
and
man.
yeah, and I kind of just remember just being like, well, the market just like dropped. Like, what are you really going to do with this? And not thinking it was a good
Yeah.
idea. And that's kind of how we started talking about the loan concept. But the
Hmm.
other the other thing too is that like if you lose your job, you are expected to pay the loan back in full within a certain period of time. Like it's like weeks. It's not long. And then if you don't, then it will be processed as a withdrawal. So that's the part that I remember like being like talking about where they have to liquidate your position because like
Hmm.
if what because like what if it became a liquidation later and then they had to sell it and it was a lower price, you'd end up having to sell more.
Right.
So interesting. Really interesting. I think I know just the guy to hit up about this too. So we'll talk more
Yeah.
about
Let's
this next
let's
week.
let's let yeah let's circle back to that sometime. I think that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Uh, but hopefully, if it lands on the right ears, maybe it'll save somebody that's listening some money one of these days.
Yeah. I mean, I'm intrigued by it. I like especially if you're not somebody who has like good credit and like some of these interest rates are high, if you know you could like it would just seem to me that logically, if you knew you could get like a 401k loan at like maybe 8 or 9%, and if you just went
Hmm.
to go get a new car, you need a new car and it's going to be within the same thing. Like why wouldn't you want
Yeah.
to then pay yourself back with interest versus just giving that money away to somebody else?
Right.
So,
Yeah. And well, one thing I heard is that you probably needed a credit score of about 680 for this to like work out in your favor.
to take a 401k loan or to do the velocity thing?
To do the velocity stuff, like to
Yeah.
get a HELOC, you need a reasonable credit score and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we need to spend some time talking about that too. There's a lot of ways people can get their credit scores up.
Hmm. Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna bring some money to this. We'll be traders, but it's not only about the money you make; it's about the money you keep. Right? You giving your money away for interest, it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, like you said, it's not just about trading. It's about kind of like wealth and generation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Want to wrap it up?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, dude. Great talking to you. I'll see you guys
Yeah,
later.
you too as always. Bye guys.